This is the astrological event of this fall, showing huge new relationships and major unions, but not without a price. If you're excited to dive into what exactly the astrology, oracle deck cards, and everything has to say about this solar eclipse in Libra this October, make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you are always up to date with what the stars have in store for you. If you're new here, hi, I'm Maren. I make videos on astrology, and I also make music, which you can find videos for down below. If you want to learn with me or get a private reading with me as well, all that is linked in the description where you can find more of my exclusive content. Firstly, we're going to get into the overall vibe and predictions for the solar eclipse. Then we will describe how it's happening for you based on your rising sign. So this is an annular solar eclipse in Libra happening at 10:55 a.m. Pacific time on October 14th, 2023. So solar eclipses are always when the sun and the moon are together, technically in a new moon, even though this is a new moon on steroids, as I will describe a little bit later in the video. But the sun and the moon are at 21 degrees of Libra. And new moons are always new beginnings. They show the beginning of a chapter, the start of a cycle. But on eclipses, they take place on what is called the ecliptic, which is the edge of the sun's orbit. Eclipses are the defining catalyst events of the following 6 months. And with the solar eclipse, it is a catalyst new beginning. So in ancient times, the solar eclipse was an omen for the fall of a king and the usurpment of a new one. So there does tend to be a downfall or some kind of destruction that leads into the vast new beginning. It's not a full moon, it's not a lunar eclipse showing that things literally settle down and they finish, but more so that something is toppled over so that something better, bigger, new can take its place. Eclipses are never times that I recommend intentionally manifesting or intentionally working on anything. This may seem confusing if you're used to manifesting on new moons, but in my video about the nodes of the moon and my whole series on that, which is a few years old but still really relevant, you can learn more about how eclipses are malefic or destructive, and they're kind of like tsunami waves. You're not going to try to take a shower in a tsunami. You're not going to try to light a match in a wildfire. I do not recommend intentionally manifesting around eclipses because the capacity to get absolved into a large issue or have your manifestation as part of a huge, larger chaos is very likely. Of course, do whatever the hell you want. I don't give a fuck. I'm not making you do anything. I was born under an eclipse, so sadly, I was manifested under an eclipse essentially. But if you can help it, allow this new beginning to show up in your life. Do not try and harness the new beginning. So to summarize all that, I would not intentionally manifest or take any action towards goals during this time. I would let the eclipse arrive to you and show you what the event is in your own life. This eclipse is taking place on the south node. So eclipses are either on the north node or the south node. And while the north node represents increase, growth, the future, and obsession, the south node represents purging, purity, letting go, and releasing things. This is because in the myth of Rahu and Ketu, Rahu being the north node and Ketu being the south node, in this myth, the dragon Rahu is cut in half as a punishment for drinking the nectar of immortality of the gods, and Rahu lives on as a head, while Ketu lives on as the body. There's nothing guiding it, it is simply floating with nothing to give it direction, whereas Rahu has no stomach, it is always hungry. So eclipses taking place on the south node have a theme of sacrifice, releasing, or giving something up in search of something more simple or more intuitive. So even though this is a solar eclipse, it's a new beginning, there's an element of sacrifice or releasing something in order to achieve that new beginning. Because this eclipse is in Libra, there's the air sign element of social intellect, and there's the cardinal sign element of initiating something. So this looks like we're initiating a social relationship of some kind. Libra does not equal relationships, but it does equal connection in an intellectual, social way that leads this eclipse to be about harmonizing with another party or harmonizing with a group of people, maybe one, maybe a large group of people that will enhance the 6 months forward for us. So this part of Libra, which is the final decan of Libra, is associated with the Four of Swords tarot card. And this part of Libra and this tarot card is actually ruled by Jupiter. So even though Libra is ruled by Venus, this third part is ruled by Jupiter, the other positive planet alongside Venus, meaning that there is a theme of union, harmony, and growth several times over with this eclipse that reiterates that the capacity is increasing with this. Even though there's a sacrifice, we're not having to give anything up that is too painful with this. And the Four of Swords is actually called the truce card. It's what comes after fighting. It is a state of mind of settling down and getting a meditative calm after what's been some fighting or some ruling options out. So with Libra, there's probably been a period of deliberation, of back and forth, or of weighing out all options. And it seems like this is our decision to finally join forces with another party and make that our new beginning. And the giving up and the sacrifice is the fact that we can't choose every other option. And in every new relationship, I would assume, can't really speak from that much of experience, but in every new relationship, there seems to be the sacrifice of like, oh, I can't have these options anymore. So this seems very in line with that, with there being a huge commitment and new beginning, but the options are then the sacrifice. This eclipse is also conjunct Mercury and Pallas in Libra. Mercury obviously is the planet of communication, of intellect, and of discussion, but Pallas is an asteroid of feminine, or usually associated with womanly wisdom. So there's a creative and also subjective kind of witty, scheming subtext, which, with Pallas, it's not necessarily showing like gossip at all. It's usually just feminine knowledge. But with Mercury and this being in Libra, it looks like maybe there's a little bit of like gossiping or girl talk going on in order to make this decision. Like you definitely asked your girls before you did this, basically. There is a loose square to Pluto in Capricorn, and squares to Pluto show manipulation, paranoia, or pressure to transform because of another party. So you might feel like because you enter this relationship, you feel the urge to change a part of yourself and you feel torn about whether that's authentic or appropriate or not. And this eclipse, besides that square, is not really making any other major aspects to other planets in the sky, so it does look pretty isolated from what's going on in other areas of your life. So this new beginning is probably not related to large amounts of your all's like job, family, money. It looks like it's a little bit aside. However, when we get into the rising sign forecast, we will explain how it's impacting your life specifically. This eclipse, however, is ruled by Venus in Virgo. Venus rules Libra, so an eclipse in Libra is going to be ruled by Venus, and Venus is in its fall in Virgo, meaning that it does extremely well in Pisces, the opposite sign, and there is challenge with it in Virgo. So there is a very critical, detail-oriented, hyper-fixated kind of tendency with Venus in Virgo through transit, which can show that we might be extremely critical and quite cynical at this opportunity, where even though it's great and we're deciding to go after this commitment, there is that inner critic or very, very judgmental quality about that decision. However, it's trine Jupiter, which really does help. There's still optimism, but also it's opposite Saturn, which shows further criticism, further seriousness, and a stone cold sober look of just like torrential criticism around this. Mars is in its home sign of Scorpio, which I do really like. Mars, being a planet of challenge, does very, very well, obviously, in its home sign, showing that we're not beating around the bush, we are not being behind each other's backs. Even with all this Libra, it looks like when it's time to be direct and deliberate, we do get the job done and are very upfront with each other. It does not look like there's drama unnecessarily, which is great. And Chiron is on the North Node in Aries. So Chiron is an asteroid that represents triggers, learning through being vulnerable, or taking our biggest lesson and pain point and turning that into what we're proud of sharing. So with it on the North Node, which is opposite to the South Node in this eclipse, it shows increase, obsession, or focus on something. So this shows leaning into our triggers, not stepping away from that which makes us uncomfortable. And maybe this decision to join forces incorporates elements of leaping into a bond that would otherwise be triggering or scary for us. So this is a huge catalyst of unity in a relationship or joining forces with another party. I do want to be clear that it's not necessarily romantic for 10 out of 12 of these rising signs. It is not inherently romantic whatsoever. It is, however, inherently relational and inherently union-based, where it looks like there's a little bit of tension, there might be a pretty significant sacrifice, but there is a commitment in the end to the potential for this bond. If you already have thoughts or feelings about this solar eclipse in Libra, do let me know down in the comments below before we get into what's coming up for each of you. Now, the Witchy Wisdom Oracle deck card that we have for this eclipse, it's getting serious when I pull out this deck. I don't use this a lot. Witch's Hat. power. Repeats from the past hold you in fear. They keep you back when you're so near. Your strength reclaimed grows by the hour. Now step back into your self-power. This magic is worked with harm to none, so mote it be there, it is done. So this is showing, like, do not go into past tendencies. Use your own power to make sure that you're doing things that propel you towards the future and are not reverting you with this. So now running through the rising signs with what to expect for this eclipse, starting out with Libra. If you're a Libra rising, this is going to be in your first house of self. Looks like you're making a commitment to your own identity, to join forces with an idea or even maybe a group of people, but it really is based on your identity and a decision to go after something that you feel like is going to benefit you with authenticity and a commitment to your own authenticity. If you're a Scorpio rising, it's in your 12th house of spirituality or mental health. Looks like it's a big decision to benefit your mental health with a commitment. If you are a Sagittarius rising, this is your 11th house of networking or friends, so you're probably literally joining forces with a large group, a large party here. If you're a Capricorn rising, this is in our 10th house of career. Looks like a huge, big career commitment to join with something to benefit your job. If you're an Aquarius rising, it's in your 9th house of foreign travel or higher education, so you're probably committing to something that is a school or a travel program. If you're a Pisces rising, it's in your 8th house of investing or assets, so you're probably doing something that involves monetary sharing or investing in something. If you are an Aries rising, this is in your 7th house of committed relationships, marriage, or legal kind of cooperation or battles. So it looks like you are deciding very clearly to get married, join forces, or have a very important bond be clear in your life, whether that is more challenging in the legal sense or literally like marriage. It can be either. If you are a Taurus rising, this is in your 6th house of physical health or coworkers. You're probably either committing to a health regimen or something with the people you work with. If you are a Gemini rising, this is in your 5th house of dating or creativity. Looks like you're committing to something fun in your life, either romantically or with art. If you are a Cancer rising, this is in your 4th house of home, family, or property. You could be buying a new property, moving in with people, or starting something new family-wise. If you are a Leo rising, it's in your 3rd house of day-to-day routine, content, or how you structure your day with information, with commuting. So it looks like you're changing up your routine, you're committing to something, and maybe you're posting like X amount of times a day and you're on a schedule. And if you are a Virgo rising, this will be in your 2nd house of income or budget and money. So you might be starting something new with an income stream or way of spending money. So let me know in the comments below how you are feeling and your thoughts around this solar eclipse in Libra. I'm excited for it. It's not a huge amount of downsides. I think we're going to get some cool events in the world coming out of it. So yeah, let me know down below and I will see you in the next one.
There is one thing you're all